Hello, California, and welcome to this week's edition of Your Financial Compass, the show that helps you successfully navigate to and through your retirement. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio are two financial advisors from Bulman Wealth Group. We have Scott Vlahon and Shawn McElmoyl. We've got a great show for you today. We are going to be talking about a subject that we know needs to get talked about more because you all are navigating things like retirement, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy planning. And here's the thing, when it comes to making these important decisions, do you want to be making them on your own, or do you want to be working with the guidance of a professional? We're going to be talking today about why working with a financial advisor matters so much, because the reality is the decisions you make today will affect your tomorrow, and we want you to be successful with your retirement. So Scott, Shawn, I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Great to be back with both of you this week. How are you? I'm
good, but I found out something the other day. So I've known Shawn for a couple of years and always known him as Shawn, and I found out that his real name is Michael.
Oh, I did not know that.
So I
Michael
do feel
Shawn.
as if
Michael Shawn.
Fine Irish name, Michael Shawn.
Okay, I love
feel like
that.
I've been living a lie. So if I seem cold towards him today, it's because I'm still coming to grips with that news.
Oh, goodness.
It's very helpful when people call me and they ask for Michael. I know it's,
You're like, if this is a scam or somebody who doesn't know me, right? Well, how did that come to be? How did you end up switching over to Shawn?
Witness relocation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No.
And it was kind of a family tradition. My dad went by his middle name.
Yeah.
And it's a curse. Your first day of school as a kid.
Yes.
The teacher calls out Michael and you have to explain it all. It's,
right.
I'm scarred.
Oh, I'm scarred from everybody spelling my name wrong. I got Kirsten, Christine, you name
What's
it.
your middle name? I don't know that.
Well, it was Michelle before I got married, but then I moved my maiden name to my middle name, so
cool.
now it's
Okay.
Hansen. Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, we digress. All right. We're talking today about why it matters working with a financial advisor so much, especially in today's economic environment. We know the landscape for retirees has really changed. There's a lot more challenges than previous generations faced. You know, it's interesting because back then it wasn't as complicated when folks worked at the same job for 40 years, retired with a nice pension, a gold watch, the whole thing, right? There's a lot more decisions that have to be made and have to be made correctly because, again, how you make a decision today will affect your tomorrow. So I'm curious, Scott, let me start with you. Have you ever met someone when they've come in and met with you for the first time who thought they didn't need a financial advisor? And I'm just curious what that picture looked like for them and how that might have changed once you got into that conversation with them.
Yeah, I was going to say something smart, Alec, but I'll answer appropriately. So yes, there are some times, and a lot of times it's when someone who's kind of done it on their own for decades, as you said.
A DIYer, right?
Yeah, a DIYer, John Doe,
yourself.
they've been paid by a company for years, they've been saving into their 401k or other investment accounts. I've got this. And then as you start to talk, you realize, and they realize there's a lot more to the story than just, here's how much I have in my accounts and it's growing or it's not growing or how much risk I am or am not taking. There's all those other factors like taxes, how much do we want to leave to children, inflation, the cost of living, which we already know is always the number one fear. So as you zoom out and let them know, planning is about a lot more than just the buckets of money you have, that really starts to put things into context. And generally it's men because they can't get out of their own way sometimes. I think women are smart enough to know that they, might need some guidance, as we all do in our appropriate fields. So
the whole joke of women know how to ask for directions, right?
Correct.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think once you bring up all the different challenges and decisions that have to be made and correlated, that's when I think folks' eyes are opened, right? Of, maybe I shouldn't be trying to do all this on my own. Just, the good analogy too is we wouldn't head out on a road trip without a GPS nowadays. I'm old enough to remember MapQuest directions, right? Printing those off,
would print them off,
sure
yes,
you had them, right?
Shawn had the Rand McNally,
the big map books.
Yes.
You move to a different state, flip the page.
Right?
Yeah.
But just like no one would start a road trip today without a GPS, it's amazing to me how many people are on this financial journey without a financial GPS, without a financial compass, right?
Yeah. I think the driving and the GPS is such a great analogy, I think for two reasons. One, when you get in the car and you know where and you use GPS, what's the first thing you've got to put into GPS?
Where you're starting from.
Or
or where you want to go.
Going,
Yeah,
your
for sure. Right.
Your
Yeah.
destination.
Yeah.
And think about that from a financial planning perspective. If you don't know your destination, if you don't clearly understand where your goals are, how you're going to define success, it's hard to map a course to get there.
Right.
If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, right?
Right, right.
And then the second, it takes emotion out of it. When you get in the car and you can just put in the destination, you just have confidence that the GPS is going to get you there. If there's an accident, a roadblock, it'll map a way around it.
Right,
so it gives you a lot of confidence that you're going to get to your destination. And the other element, I think, where it takes the emotion out is we've all been there. We're driving down a 4-lane highway, and the lane you're in slows down. You look to your left, and you see the other lanes are going fast. You get over in the other lane or 2 lanes over. Sure enough, that lane stops, and then you look over and the lane you were in is now moving quickly. And we do that with investing too. It's a great example of trying to time the market. You hear about a hot part of the market and you feel, well, should I sell my investments and move into this other area of the market? And we know over time that can be a fool's game.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, the reason I had the starting location on my mind is I was recently on a trip and I put in the destination where I wanted to go, but I didn't have enough cell service for it to pick up where I was right there, right? And it's like you have to know where you're starting from too in order to get to where you want to go. And that's why it's so helpful to have professionals such as yourselves be able to do a helpful analysis to help folks maybe see some of the pitfalls that they're not even aware that they are currently dealing with. So I'm curious, for folks who do come in to meet with you and have done a great job of saving, maybe managing their wealth on their own, what are some of the biggest and most common pitfalls you see that they've often completely missed?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest one that I've seen has been like tax implications, because each different style of account has different tax ramifications. If we're pulling from a 401k or an IRA, we know every dime is taxed. If we're pulling from a Roth, it's tax-free. Maybe we have a non-IRA account, it's taxed differently. So, knowing how those are treated and then the cadence of what accounts we're pulling from. There is a kind of a efficiency to it in terms of what accounts we're pulling from and what order, so we can maximize, the ease the tax burden within reason. And some of it is just, strangely enough, staying disciplined and keeping perspective, because we know the market's always going to go up and down. We saw some craziness earlier this year with the tariff stuff, and we'll continue to see it. And just try not to be seduced or scared by the headlines. Like, oh, why are my returns better? Or, how are I protecting this money? Or, oh my gosh, what is it? Chicken Little, the sky's falling. Trying to keep someone grounded, because again, this is especially for someone who's retired recently, when they're not getting that paycheck anymore.
Right.
It just hits a little bit more different, or hits differently. So I think there's a amplification to those emotions. So walking them through that, the tax implications, what accounts are we pulling from, how it works in the context of a plan, and also how do I manage my emotions with this and reframe those expectations. So, because ultimately you don't want to run out of money, and as Shawn said earlier, we don't want to always be chasing the next big thing, because the way the stock market works now, what's big next week is not 2 weeks from now. We can't be, we don't want to be kind of seduced by that, like I was saying a moment ago.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as we wrap up this first segment, I know in my work as a financial educator, and I've seen this in my own life as well, I think a lot of times we are too close to our own situation, too close to our own stuff to be able to see what's really going on. And I think the benefit of working with a team such as yourselves, who are independent, you can be objective, you can provide that third party, response and analysis to really help remove emotion from the equation, to help people protect them from themselves a lot of times, right? From making emotional-based or fear-based decisions. I know the guidance of a financial advisor is priceless when it comes to making sure that you're on track and getting to where it is that you want to go. So what would you say to someone watching who's going, you know what? Yeah, I have been a do-it-yourselfer. I have been trying to do all this on my own. I had no idea. It gets way more complicated. The older I get, the more I'm, closer to retirement, and maybe it's time to think about working with somebody.
Yeah, I think the first thing to know is you're not the only person that feels that way. And I think there's a certain burden to it. you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not paid by XYZ company anymore. I have to manage this myself. And is my husband or my wife or my kids, are they going to be mad at me? Or what if I mess it up? And there's such an extra layer of pressure there can be that people just don't want to deal with. So I would say if that is you and you're like, gosh, I really want some folks to walk alongside me, you can call the number below. We start with what we call our financial compass review, where we sit down to find out more about your situation. Are you retired? Are you thinking about retiring in a few years? What are your concerns? What are the goals for the money? And really start to put things together and make sure and help folks navigate through this. But it all starts with a conversation. Maybe you don't need help. We can find that out, or maybe you need a lot of help. Call the number below. We'll have a talk, and then we'll see where it leads us.
Wonderful. Well, Scott, Shawn, thank you. I'm excited to continue this conversation with you. That number to call to start your process and receive your very own complimentary financial compass review is there for you on the bottom of your screen, 888-970-4685. Or if you'd rather connect online, simply grab your smartphone. You can scan that QR code there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Bulman Wealth Group will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary financial compass review that way as well. When we come back, what are some of the other key areas and ways that a financial advisor can help and serve you? We'll tackle that when we come back.
The team at Bulman Wealth Group is exceptional, from our advisor team to our service team, which is, I think, second to none. But it all revolves around the idea that our clients are vitally important.
One of the ways I feel like we differentiate ourselves is we want a relationship with our clients. And I really learned that from Chris. Is there's so many dollars and cents and all this information to know, but at the end of the day, it's got to be a trust and a like, because we're partnering with somebody. So I want them to think a trip to see me is not a trip to the DMV or to the dentist, but it's just being able to share in the good times and be available to be a resource in the bad times too.
Our clients are our friends. I really view them as part of our family because we go through some pretty significant life events. So it's really being a partner with our clients through all those life events and through the life journey.
We often hear about celebrity estate headlines, legal disputes, and unexpected challenges. Even with significant wealth, common estate planning mistakes can occur. Our educational guide, Estate Planning 101, Avoid These 10 Celebrity Estate Planning Fails, examines several well-known situations. Learn from these examples and gain insights that may be helpful for your own planning. Download your complimentary copy today.
Welcome back to Your Financial Compass. I'm Kristen Oakley here with Shawn and Scott from Bulman Wealth Group, and we are so glad that you're joining us today. If you're just tuning in, we are sharing with you a lot of the benefits that often folks don't realize and think through when it comes to working with a financial advisor. Here's the reality. If you are wondering if you are on the right path or not, wouldn't you want to know prior to making a devastating financial mistake? And yet in the absence of the right guidance, that's what can happen for so many folks. And the next thing we want to talk about, guys, is that, a lot of folks think they're on track, but they've never worked with a financial professional to make sure that that's the case. They haven't received the right guidance. And what's really sad is then they think they have enough money to last them throughout the rest of their life, but then they realize that they don't. And often by the time that happens, it's too late to do anything to fix it, right? So what's interesting is there's this misconception too that financial advisors just manage investments. But we all know there's so much more that goes into this. You all do so much more for your clients than just the investment piece. Talk about that.
Well, I think we would submit that if you're working with a financial advisor who goes to the investment conversation first and right away, could be committing malpractice, financial malpractice, right? Think about going to a doctor for the first time and within just a couple of minutes, the doctor is prescribing a medicine or a drug to you without really understanding your entire medical history, your past experiences, do testing. That would be committing medical malpractice. So if you're working with a financial advisor or you meet with a financial advisor who wants to go right to the investment conversation, I think alarm bells should really ring because they don't really understand the context from which to give you the best advice. So what we do when we meet with people for the very first time, we talk about income, their income needs. We talk about taxes, how taxes could impact their financial situation. We talk about healthcare expenses being one of the largest, most traumatic expense during retirement. We talk about legacy planning. We want to know, do you have your will and your estate, your trust set up? What do you want to leave behind for your loved ones? Those 4 areas become really important from which to give you the best investment advice. So for us, the investment conversation, I don't want to say comes last, but it really only becomes important when we understand the complete financial picture.
Right, because it's part of that comprehensive holistic plan. You can't afford to look at any one of those areas in isolation from each other. Yeah, for sure. Well, we talked about the fear that a lot of folks have of running out of money, and rightly so, right? A lot of folks are asking themselves, have I saved enough? Have I done enough? Do I have enough? I'm curious, Scott, because I know you've met with so many folks in this area. Is there a story or an example that comes to mind of you've met with someone who that was their big worry and concern, and yet once you were able to put the pieces together and build that plan for them, that shifted for them?
Yes, and I can't be too specific or I'll get in trouble by compliance, so let's see. So yes, it's happened several times. There was someone that came in and they had been working in a field for many decades. Them and their spouse had saved a lot of money, but they'd never really sat down to see how it all fit together. They just did their job, saved the money, and kept going. And I remember meeting with them and one of them saying, I'm going to have to work forever. And I said, well, time out, let's see. And we met again. I had created a financial plan and I showed them, hey, you could retire this week if you wanted. And they said, well, now that it was very liberating. And they said, well, now that I know I can, I'm going to stay at my job for 2 more years. And if someone gets on my nerves, I'm going to be done.
Right.
Well, they worked 6 more months. So someone must have got on their nerves. But the point was they saw, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. You're stuck in your job doing your thing, and you never really sit down to see how do all the pieces fit together. I think of my kids. My son during COVID, Lego was the big thing, and we'd open this box and 8,000 pieces, and I step on them and they hurt. Like, what? This does not look like the picture on the instruction guide. Then you put it together, like, oh my gosh, how did that work? And it can be the same way. You've got all these Lego pieces or buckets of money or streams of income, what have you. Have you ever really sit down to see what that piece is, or what the whole contraption looks like when you put it together? And then that's kind of, now that I've said Shawn and I are Lego builders, if that's how we want to deem it, so be it. But if that's that's an area we can help to put those pieces together. Like, I've got all these chunks of money, now what? How do I pay myself? When do I pay myself? What are the taxes? How much risk should I be taking? All of those different things. And as Shawn said a moment ago, we have to find out what the goals are first, then reverse engineer, how can we make this work with the pieces that you have and things that you might not have thought about.
For sure. And what's interesting about this is it's not just something to take our word for. There was a very powerful study that was done by Vanguard, one of the world's largest money managers, in fact, predominantly used by do-it-yourself investors. And they had a fascinating study that came out. They sought to address, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was, what's the value of working with a financial advisor? Do you actually do better when you are working with one? So Shawn, I'd love for you to speak to that study because I think that ties into this conversation as well.
You're right. It was a study done by Vanguard in 2001, and it's been updated a couple of times since then. What they found is that those Vanguard customers who were working with an advisor, because some Vanguard customers were working with advisors, others were not, but they could go back in and test this, and they found that those customers of Vanguard who worked with a financial advisor, on average, we're getting 3% better returns net after fees. And it's because of the things we touched on. It's not only the tax planning, the income planning, understanding healthcare expenses, but it's taking the emotion out of it. Whether we've got the wheel or we're a co-pilot with the client, having someone there to guide you through those challenging times becomes really important.
Yep.
but also can have a financial impact on their plan.
Yeah, and that 3% net of fees can add up to be significant, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what's mind-blowing when you look at the study. It's really proving, okay, it's because of all the additional value that a financial advisor is bringing, such as yourselves.
And maybe you have an advisor, and if you feel like some of the things we're talking about, like, well, they never mentioned that, or this is a concern, but I never asked them because I don't trust them. All they want to do is talk about my accounts. Then you can call the number below. We can set up what we call our financial compass review, where we sit down and look at all those things. Maybe you have an advisor, you don't feel like they're bringing enough value. Maybe you've never had one and you're not sure if you should start now. Call the number. We don't know that until we talk, but it all starts with a talk. So call the number below. We can talk about those things. Any kind of financially related question you can think of, we've probably heard before. So there's no dumb questions. I would just say it's always dumb not to ask the question. And we start from there and see where it leads us.
Wonderful. Scott, Shawn, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is 888-970-4685, and you'll be able to schedule your very own complimentary financial compass review. Or again, if you'd rather connect online, simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. We'll be back with more to discuss the value beyond the numbers that working with a financial advisor can provide for you right after this.
Successful retirement to me is someone who doesn't have to worry about where their next paycheck's going to come from, where the income's going to come from. Are they going to run out of income? Are they going to run out of money? Are they going to meet their financial goals with respect to maybe they want to leave money to their children? Maybe they want to leave money to a philanthropy or a university.
Being able to wake up and know the day's an open slate and not having to worry about things. Or say someone's going on a trip with family, they're going to the beach, and if the headline says, the market's down again or something, they're not concerned. Bulman Wealth has my back here. We've got a plan in place. My portfolio is set up in a way that concern is not there.
All the pieces fit together like a puzzle. When that all fits together and you can see the peace of mind that gives families, that is a successful retirement.
Feeling overwhelmed by the numbers in retirement planning? Well, you're not alone. Our Big Picture Retirement Planning Cheat Sheet is designed to help you quickly reference key figures like contribution limits, tax brackets, and Social Security benefit thresholds. Get clear on your retirement numbers and download your complimentary cheat sheet today.
Welcome back to Your Financial Compass, where today we are having a very honest conversation all about why working with a financial advisor can matter so much, the difference that can make for you and your retirement. And it's been interesting, guys, that the word emotions have come up several times throughout today's conversation. And we talked about the Vanguard study, and one of the things that Vanguard was able to prove was that not only does working with a financial advisor often increase your returns over time, net of fees, because again, that was huge, right? But it was because of all the added value that the right financial professional can provide in the terms of, all the behavioral coaching, right? The things that help remove emotion from the equation. Because we know finances can create a lot of stress and worry for folks, but you can't put a price on peace of mind. And I really think that's a lot of what your job is, right? Is coming alongside, building plans, and helping folks have that peace of mind.
It might sound strange, but I would argue we're just as much of counselors as we are money guys because of those aspects, because there's so much emotion, as you said, attached to that money and the fear of running out of money or the fear of market loss, all these different things. And we've heard everything and every question or someone passing away. All those different elements work into it. And I think sometimes people like having a group, and it's not just us, it's our team as well, to walk them through these things. Or when we have a market downturn, hey, can we sit down and review the plan again, make sure we're still on track? Or hey, coffee's 23% higher and I drink a lot of coffee, am I still on track with my plan? And that peace of mind that can be added, it's an intangible value, and you can't quantify it, you can't put a percentage on it, but I think in many instances, it's that further layer that adds value beyond just, wow, you got an extra 10% this year, but what else? There's got to be, what else? We have a lot of folks that have left other advisors because there hasn't been that what else. It's just like, I'm just a number and there's nothing further added to it. And I think people are too smart for that. And people want more, especially with AI and everything.
Right.
I need more. I need an emotional component. I need some of that element. And that won't get lost with AI, as I say that now and totally jinx it all. But anyhow, big emotion. We've seen it all and heard it all. And it's another layer of value.
Yeah. Well, you also come alongside your clients. I think that's one of the things I've always appreciated about Bulman Wealth Group is that you all are committed to doing life with your clients. And there's so many transitions that occur from marriages to kids to, divorces, loss of a spouse, career changes, then retirement, if that isn't a big enough transition on its own, right? Talk a little bit about how you help your clients successfully navigate through all those changes.
Well, Scott talked a lot about the peace of mind we try to convey to our clients. And one of the things that we really take to heart is the fact that most of our clients have worked for decades, saving, working, and we call it life stress, right? They've had their whole life of life stress, raising their family, managing their career, managing their financial responsibilities. And when they retire and they transition into retirement, we don't want them to go from life stress to money stress or a retirement stress. So one of the things that we do is that we meet with our clients regularly throughout the whole year. It's on the calendar. Once you become a client, we schedule out the entire year of having regular, and we don't do review meetings because review kind of implies that we're looking backwards. We kind of know what happened looking backwards. What we try to do is look forward and anticipate some of the things that life's gonna bring your way. We bring perspective because we're working with so many clients. We kind of know what you're about ready to go through before you're going through it.
Right.
And so we can kind of anticipate some of the things, the milestones that are ahead of you and plan accordingly for that. And so that's what's so important as your life changes, as the world changes, as the markets change, we're making adjustments to their plan.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what would be your final word of encouragement be to someone who's watched today's conversation?
If you've never talked to an advisor, there's nothing to be intimidated about. Shawn is not as intimidating as he looks and sounds. It's actually very warm and comforting. But if you have an advisor and you don't feel like you're getting love or value, call the number below. If you've never worked with an advisor and you want to know where to start, call the number below. There's no bad questions. There's no dumb questions. We'll meet you where you're at. And if there's a way we can help, we can start to talk about that. But it all starts by calling us, and then we'll see where it leads.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. And thank you so much for watching. We look forward to being back with you next time here on Your Financial Compass.